I'm Bruce Marshall. This is the Brampton Now update for the Valentine's Weekend 2021. Coming up, a cold weekend in store, snow and double digits below zero for the weekend and the coming week, generally, according to Environment Canada. Peel's chief medic and his thoughts on school openings and his cautions on rushing things. Details on that and more coming up in this Brampton Now update. Here's what's happening in Brampton. One of the biggest questions on the minds of many is about the reopening of schools. You should know the chief medical officer for Peel believes we need to reopen schools. However, he says we need to perfect that before we move on to other openings.
This is a critical moment for our community in fighting COVID-19. Next week, students will return to in-person learning. Building on the success of the fall term, I know that the enhanced measures will support a safe reopening and keep schools open, hopefully, throughout the spring. However, I must be clear. Any further reopening that might be contemplated must be gradual to allow for appropriate assessment of trends and to prevent case counts, hospitalizations, and deaths from climbing again. We know, most concerningly, that the new variants detected in our midst could very well drive a third wave if we move too quickly. Rapid variant spread would erase the gains that we have made over the past 4 months, since in November, when our enhanced measures on social gatherings and workplaces initially bent the curve and held it there as we entered gray lockdown on November 23rd.
Dr. Lowe not a fan of reopening businesses then on February 22nd.
That's coming 6 days after school reopening, which is far too early to fully assess the impacts that school reopening will have on our community transmission patterns. That, unfortunately, is not gradual. I know we're all tired and we might be seduced by the idea of reopening. However, moving too quickly beyond a return to school could present the difference between a third wave or exiting the pandemic successfully in short order.
One of the things that Mayor Patrick Brown is looking forward to, though, is a level playing field when Peel reopens businesses again.
The lack of a level playing field between small businesses and big box stores. You go into big box stores and they continue to look like a zoo because of provincial exemptions for big box stores. With the reopening framework, it's going to be 25% capacity in those big box stores, 25% capacity in small businesses. So at least we're starting to see a level playing field, which is welcome. And I certainly believe Brampton will be ready on February 22nd for those initial changes that the province has announced.
In a moment, the provincial budget is coming up. Mayor Brown asked what his priorities for Brampton are in the Ontario budget. His blunt answer. Next on the Brampton Now update.
This is your invitation to hear our stories, to engage in our traditions, and connect with our history. Connections as varied as the land. Come experience our country's heritage. Find and book your authentic Indigenous experience at indigenouscanada.travel.
This is the Brampton Now update. I'm Bruce Marshall. Mayor Patrick Brown asked about the upcoming provincial budget and what his priorities would be for the Ontario budget.
Well, I think I'd say right off the bat it would be new hospital, new hospital, new hospital. For my top three priorities, it's healthcare. You know, the provincial average for hospital beds is 2.19 for every 1,000 residents. In Brampton, we only have 0.9 hospital beds. We have half that is the provincial average. And as I've spoken to the Premier and the Health Minister about many times, as our council has, we need to have equal healthcare access in this province.
Now let's have another look at those numbers. Most places in Ontario, the average number of hospital beds is 2.19. Here in Peel Region, less than half that. We have 0.9 beds per 1,000 people. Are you a second-class citizen in Ontario? Our provincial members have to step up on health care. They will be on the block in elections next year, but this will be the year to hold them accountable for you and me, the taxpayer. On the other hand, the federal government has stepped up again for Brampton. Brampton has some ambitious transit plans over the next few years, and some of the funding for that has come from the feds. Mayor Brown.
I want to thank the federal government for their announcement this morning on a commitment to public transit, $13 billion for transit projects across Canada. Brampton's got some ambitious transit aspirations. We've got a transit facility that we're trying to build right now. We're hoping to have the first electrified transit fleet in the country. And so we've got some really exciting transit projects in the works, and obviously federal funding is going to make those possible. And so it was encouraging to see the Prime Minister's announcement and commitment to Canadian municipalities for federal partnerships in public transit.
In a moment, a lot at stake in the next while. The weekend, school reopening, the gradual reopening of lots of things. Dr. Lawrence Loh with his thoughts on that, coming up next on the Brampton Now Update.
Is going to a party really worth it? Putting yourself at risk puts everyone at risk. Help limit the spread of COVID-19.
The COVID-19 pandemic in Canada is serious. We must continue to practice all public health measures. Follow local guidelines for gatherings. Maintain physical distancing. Wash your hands, wear a mask, and download the COVID Alert app. If you have symptoms, even mild ones, stay home. Protect yourself and others. We've come too far to stop now.
A message from the Government of Canada.
I'm Bruce Marshall. This is the Brampton Now Update. So it's a big weekend. Lunar New Year, Valentine's, Family Day on Monday, and we're all anxious to get outside and do things again. The perspective from Dr. Lawrence Loh.
Just a few more weeks of staying at home could very well save us months more of agony, keeping the variants down as vaccine coverage and the weather improves. We've already come this far, and it's imperative that we hold on to avoid another shutdown. We don't ever want to use the emergency brake that has been proposed in the new provincial framework. So for the next few weeks, as schools reopen, we need to continue to stay home as best we can. Even if this weekend we'll see the Lunar New Year, Valentine's Day, and Family Day, even as the weather starts to get better towards the beginning of March, we need to stay safe and to stay apart so that we can end this with confidence.
Similar words being echoed by many medical authorities across Ontario. Steady as she goes, one step at a time. That's the Brampton Now Update for this week. Please subscribe to the Brampton Now Update channel on YouTube or follow #MarshallMinute on Facebook for lots of Brampton need to know that you won't find anywhere else. Your comments and suggestions are always welcome, and if you've got a Brampton story to tell, get in touch with me through the channel you're watching on right now. Stay strong, Brampton. Brampton strong. We're all in this together. I'm Bruce Marshall. Thanks for watching Brampton Now Update.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.